This week was another super sunny day in Chicago. Not that cold, which I can't complain about, but I'm kind of getting sick of these harsh shadows and the super hard light on every single game. Maybe we can get an overcast day one of these days, or I never thought I'd be wishing for snow or rain, but just some kind of different element than super hard sunlight. If you're new here, hello, I'm Joey. I photograph every home game for the Chicago Bears, and if you're interested in sports photography or anything in the photo or video space, subscribe, like this video. It means nothing to you. Maybe it'll help you, but it helps me a lot. Now let's get into it. My favorite photos from Bears versus Raiders this past week, but when you're seeing this, it'll be a few weeks ago. First one we're going to talk about is during pregame. Now, Maxx Crosby is one of those players that I knew has a unique look. He's all tatted up. He's super high energy, so I knew I had to get some good photos of him. So right here, we see two shots of him. We got one during pregame with the hard shadows, and if you've been following, I got a similar shot to Russell Wilson like this, and this is where the hard shadows are really nice, and you can make that green in the grass really pop, get some emotion on the face. These are unique perspectives that you can't really capture if the game's going on. So whenever the game's not going on, you can get your wide lens out and photograph these players in their natural element warming up. And then the other one we're talking about with Maxx Crosby is this ISO on his face. So this was actually after a touchdown from the Bears that ended up getting called back, and he was arguing that it was not a touchdown, but he was right there in front of me, and I had the 400mm lens just get a super tight on his face. Turned it into black and white because Turn it into black and white because I just love how it looks with those Raiders uniforms, and the colors just kind of looked weird in the photos. But I love these super tights where you can see emotion on people's faces, and you can also just see such a separation from the background. Now we got the first Bears photo from the game. This was towards the end of the game, actually, after Jaylon Johnson had 2 interceptions. He had 1 pick six, and he jumped a pass from Davante Adams, and then he had another one where they threw a deep pass, and he caught it. These were back-to-back drives, which was really cool to see. And this was a moment later in the game whenever I just saw him by himself on the sidelines, just clearly grateful for what happened. And being there, getting the hard shadows coming off of him, and just having him totally isolated, I could not be much more happy with how this photo turned out. And these are unique perspectives that a lot of people do not get. I've said it a million times before, but I'll say it again. Everybody is photographing the game. If you can find the little moments that are on the sidelines or the little moments that aren't necessarily right in front of your eyes during a play, those are the photos that are going to be powerful and maybe actually be impactful. Individual player intros have been something that the Bears have done this year that they didn't do last year, and I could not be happier about it. This is one of 2 photos that you'll see from the intros. This one is awesome. You see them shooting the smoke up, and then you see Jaquan Brisker shooting an arrow, whatever his celebration. He's all hyped up entering the game, and just this photo with the fans in the background with the smoke up top, the composition is absolute gold, in my opinion. We got a little sequence of events for this next one. So this is Terrell Edmunds' interception. You see in the first one, it's an interception. Now, is this photo anything crazy? Not really, but it captures a moment in time. And I think the big thing about it is that you can see Josh Jacobs on the left side of the frame. You know Josh Jacobs is not on defense, and you know Terrell Edmunds is not on offense. So clearly an interception of some sort. This is one of those photos that you would not benefit off of cropping in super tight on Terrell Edmunds because you want to tell the story of what's actually happening. You got to capture some other players in the foreground, in the background, even just to shape them in the frame to actually really show what happened. And then in the sequence of events, we obviously got the celebration after the interception happened. These photos have been some of my favorites so far this year because the celebrations are just great. And on the opposite side of the field with the compression at 400mm, you got the whole team there, and then you got Terrell Edmunds clearly celebrating the most. If there's anything that myself and a lot of people didn't expect, it's for D'Onta Foreman to have 3 touchdowns during this game, and the celebration just got progressively better and better. So right here, I believe this was his last touchdown. Right here, you see him doing, I think he was doing the Dougie, but I mean, look at the dancing, look at the cleats. The cleats are so fire, and you'll see a little sneak peek. You'll have to stay to see the photo, but my favorite photo from this game is of him, and it's not a touchdown, but God, it's so cool. And you see the cleats once again. Right here, you see him dancing and you see him just all hyped up that he scored a touchdown. Very simple, but you capture a moment in time. And for context, once again, you see the logo going across the ground. So if you really are paying attention, you can tell he's in the end zone. Also, why would somebody be dancing if they didn't just score a touchdown? The player that I was most excited to photograph during this game was Davante Adams. Now, this game had 2 backup quarterbacks, so we had to really go down the list and figure out who we wanted to get some good shots of. Davante obviously is going to be towards the top of that list. So during warm-ups, I got a backlit shot of him, and I could not be happier with how this turned out. You see his shiny cleats on the left, you see the helmet on the right to create some branding, and then just the fact that he's backlit and you see that rim light all along his body. This photo is so nice. For this, I really wasn't even looking at the screen when I shot it. I just put my camera pretty much on the ground with the helmet in the foreground. Got a few shots. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But one thing I'm not going to do is hang out next to Davante during the entire pregame to try and get this shot. You get what you get and you just move on. That's a huge thing with not being invasive with these players. You don't want to annoy them, and you also want to get shots of the other players because at the end of the day, that's what I'm there for. Obviously, I'm going to send this photo over, but I'm not going to sit there and try and get one really nice portrait all of pregame because I have to capture pregame as a whole. That means iPhone videos, that means photos, that means whatever I'm really asked to do. I mentioned we got some more D'Onta Foreman here, and this is after another touchdown. So right here you see Tyson Bagent, the quarterback for the Bears, backup quarterback for the Bears, putting a crown on Foreman. This was really cool, and this actually ended up being used on Bears social. But right here, this tells a story. Once again, you see somebody celebrating in the background. You see their arms up. Don't really need to see their face. You got Foreman on the left. You got Bagent on the right. A clear celebration of something, most likely a touchdown, which is what it was. But right here, I am super happy with how this photo turned out. And my big secret for editing these NFL photos, come on, get a little closer. Get a little closer. Go in Lightroom, select subject, and then select the background. Drop the dehaze on the background and drop the clarity. That's how I get this hazy look to these photos. Okay, now back up. Get away, get away, get away. Number 3, and this is money. Right here, this is during the national anthem. National anthem is where you'll get all the players without their helmets on. So if you want to get good portraits, this is the time to do it. I could have easily gotten my 24-70 out and just gotten a wide portrait of them, but I decided to grab the 400mm and just zoom all the way in. Now I could crop in even more on Davante here, but I like seeing his jersey a little bit, and the lighting on his face couldn't be much better. Yes, I separated him from the background in the edit, and I really dropped those blacks in the background and made this black and white, of course. But this photo, I think, is one of my favorite portraits I've gotten on the field, and this will definitely be up there for favorite photos I've gotten in all the NFL. I say that back-to-back weeks. Now, I mentioned I love pregame intros. Pregame intros are a cool time for excitement, and I'm shooting on my EOS R, which is my B cam, with my 24-70 here. Now, this photo, yeah, this is Kyler Gordon. I think his name's Kyler Gordon. Gordon doing a backflip in the pregame tunnel. I ended up cropping in a good bit on this, but a little trick for these: put your camera on manual focus and just lock it to the middle of the path, because then, one, most cameras will allow you to shoot at a faster frame rate whenever you're on manual focus, and then two, you don't have to worry about if you're going to be in focus or not, because a lot of the times you're just spraying as they run past you. This photo cropped in quite a bit just so that you can see the smoke on the left and you can see him on the right. But talk about a unique photo that's super interesting to even look at. Just seeing him upside down, you're not really entirely sure what's going on, but in this case, I kind of like that about it. Now, before we get to the best photo, subscribe if you're not already. Like this video, means nothing to you, helps me a ton, and it helps me keep putting these videos out for you guys. And I just really appreciate it. The best photo of the game, of course, was the best player of the game, D'Onta Foreman, but him hurdling one of the Raiders defenders. This was one of those photos, I wish I had BTS of it, but I was standing next to my buddy John, and I was just spraying, following the running back, and we saw him hurdle, and then we just looked up at each other. We were like, yeah, I got it. We're thinking the same thing. Click play on the camera, and sure enough, there it is, the entire sequence of D'Onta Foreman hurdling the defender. The kind of photos you can't really make up. The kind of photos that I am very happy to get, and look at how sick his cleats are once again. Bit of a sneakerhead myself. Not a huge sneakerhead. I haven't gotten shoes in a while, but those are so fire. But overall, moments like this are absolute luck. You can't plan for them, but that's what makes them fun, and that's what makes them really stand out whenever you're looking at your photos after the game. So that's it. That is Bears versus Raiders, the Bears' second win of the season, and the next game I'll be photographing is actually going to be the Lions game in December. Won't be there for the Thursday night game in November. I know it's a bummer, but I will be in Southeast Asia for a month. So if you want to see content around that, once again, you know what to do. And as always, here are some of my favorite photos from the past week or shoots that I've had recently. Peace.